move on to the written stand. You want to kick us off straight?
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, Scott. Good to see you. Just starting off with some team news following Brentford. Any injury concerns going into Palace?
No injury concerns then, other than the ones that are maybe a bit more long term. But other than that, everyone fit and well, mate.
I just wondered, a few days now on from the Brentford game, a few days to digest that result. What's the kind of mood within the squad been, and what have you kind of talked about since that game as a group?
Well, I think like anything, you come out of a poor result. The football clubs generally, the mood ain't the best, and of course probably the way it happened at the weekend was disappointing as well. We're getting ourselves back into the game with 10 minutes left on it, then the game to fall away a little bit like it did, and certainly the second goal really in terms of conceding that early after, there's big disappointment. A lot of learning for us for sure, and I think the general message around it is us just being very stable in these situations really, and I think I've referenced it many a time before, and that's probably not going to change throughout this season really. So there were some really good parts to our game, and there was some really poor parts, and probably the back end of the game there was some bits that certainly we need to have an understanding. There was detail in that, but that's where we are.
Just last one from you, talk about positives. I feel like Zian Fleming's season so far has been a positive. How have you been impressed by maybe how he's adapted to the Premier League so far? Has it surprised you at all, or what have you made of his kind of development so far?
Well, it's not a surprise. I mean, of course, there's always a jump up, and this is Zian's first experience of the Premier League. But the professionalism of him, the hungerness of him, what you can see, this is his opportunities. Probably he's been in and around. He's in England for some time, and his dream was to play in the Premier League, and you can see that he's tackling that head on really, and full credit to him. He scored some really important goals and some good goals for us. So long may that continue, and I'm sure it will in terms of his general ethic and how he goes about his work really. Cheers.
Scott, how much does it help you to have a player like him who is clearly in great form and relishing the opportunity to survive at this level and play at this level to the best of his ability?
Yeah, no, look, there's always this. It's massive for us, and at the start of the season there was others. What you could see that you always want informed players, and players that, I think like you said there, players that are relishing the opportunity, not fearful of it. Someone who's extremely hungry in Z, like I've said, and I think you can see that in everything he goes about his work with really. A fearless mentality and a fearless attitude. And he's embracing the challenge, which it is, and there's a challenge there for him like there is for all of us here. But certainly his quality and what he's producing for us is helpful.
Is it easier or harder to come to it at his age, do you feel? Because sometimes when you're really young, there's no fear. You just get stuck straight in, don't think about it too much. Whereas at that age, you've got more experience, but maybe there is more in your mind. There's more baggage coming into it, maybe.
Well, I think it probably just falls down to no matter what your age is in terms of where you are mentally and how you can have an understanding of certain things, really. So, of course, at a younger age, you're probably developing some core skills or learning on the job a little bit. But like I said, Zian comes with a bit more experience, a desperation as well to play in this league, the quality and I think the mindset, to be honest with you, a mindset of one which tackles everything head on. And at this present moment in time, he's reaping the rewards of that.
Every week it feels like you're asked about fine margins in these games. I wonder how are the players coping with the fact that they're so near to points, results week after week, yet it feels like that's the same almost theme to some of the defeats that you've had. I mean, how do you think they're taking that?
It's a constant balance, and certainly it's a constant in my head as the coach of this young group, because I understand the psychological element and certainly the world they live in, really. And I think you're right, for sure, at some point, the nearly ain't quite enough, and that's going to have to change. The positives are it is nearly, and the positives are we are competitive. The positives are that we've been in a lot of games and got some good results. But the facts are as well, there's a certain element that we need to fix, and we need to make that nearly into it's happening. That gap ain't massive, but there is a gap there, and that's where we've just fallen a little bit short. And certainly I'm aware of that, the players are aware of that. Now, of course, I need to have a balance on things, and I need to keep this team and this squad having an understanding that there's a lot of good things going on and also a reality on the situation of what we're in and what we're going to go and face throughout this year. But for sure, like I always say, a brutal honesty in certain moments that, these nearly moments we need to turn. For sure we do. And the weekend probably epitomised that. When you get back in the game at 1-1, that's a time when you need to come away from there with something. And I get the quality. I totally understand the quality of this division. And of course, that quality, it can hurt you. But for sure, that's where it is at the moment.
Is it getting harder to pick them up, or do you see them being stable, like you mentioned before?
No, I think we're stable, and obviously I'm that guy. What is that? And that message and my words and how I deliver things and how I speak to the group, I hope they hold strongly. But of course, it's a young group, and we live in a world where adversity, disappointment, failure at times, the mechanism to deal with that is probably, there's not as much as what's needed, and that's just the generation we're in. I had to put context on that, for sure. I need to try and educate that we're in a world here, in the world we do, and in general world, that there is failure at times. There's disappointment and there is adversity, and that's just the way it is. You need a constant default position, which I try and install in this group, to not worry about the what ifs, not worry about the certain things. Like I always say, we're really brutal. This wasn't good enough, we address it. But fundamentally, we're living in a world, and certainly what we do is the next game. And that next game comes Wednesday, we dust ourselves off, and we go again.
And what do you think about that next game against Crystal Palace? What sort of an opponent are they to face?
Tough opponent, for sure. A team that have been together for some time, and a manager and coach, well-coached team, structured team. And you can see that in the way they are, to be honest with you. Nothing really changes, but they're very, very good at what they do. A team on the same page with big threat, and I think Oliver's done a fantastic job in the time he's been there, which we all can see, really. So we're up against a very good opponent, a well-drilled opponent, an opponent that, like I said, has been together for some time. But as always, we're at home. We're coming out. We want a reaction from us as well. So we'll go into this game as always, putting our best foot forward, and hopefully we can cause them problems.
Thanks, Scott.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.